jumping over to the Buccaneers and the Saints. This is going to be probably the most viewed game on the week. Anyone that once has been waiting to see the debut of Tom Brady, we're unfortunately not going to be able to see him with Evans and Godwin. It's looking like Evans is doubtful for this one. Another wide receiver injury that is unfortunately already plaguing us in this rough year. But there's plenty of weapons to go around. I think this is still a pretty competitive game going on into New Orleans. And yeah, so Vegas has a pretty high over-under on this one, 48 as well, same as the Cardinals 49ers. Should be some really good games in that afternoon slate. Right now, the Saints are projected to win by 4, giving us an implied point total of 26-22 for the Saints. So last year, the Buccaneers were the best team against the run, the worst team against the receivers. Like, they really sold out to stop the run and could not stop receivers at all. I do expect their defense to be a bit better this year with a few key additions, and obviously with not having Jameis Winston constantly giving the other team the ball in bad situations, I think the Bucs defense will just look better by nature of that. Now, the Saints defense overall was pretty solid last year. They were a little bit better against the run. They did give up a lot of points to receivers, which is strange because obviously with Marshawn Lattimore being one of the best shutdown corners in the league, basically just meant that there was one receiver that didn't get too many points and everyone else just kind of blew up around him. So this overall, though, a divisional game, a game in which we're not really sure what Tom Brady is going to look like. I'm expecting this one to be pretty high score and pretty competitive. I'm not really going to talk myself out of playing any of my studs. Obviously, with Evans out, that is making Godwin arguably the start of the week, even though it probably means he's going to end up bringing a shadow from Lattimore the whole game. So that is a little bit of a concern if Lattimore ends up shadowing Godwin now that Evans is gone. They could cap his ceiling a little bit, but there's no way you're going to talk yourself into benching Godwin. I think he's good enough that even if he gets a Lattimore shadow, with Brady throwing him the ball, I think he'll still have a good enough game. You're probably going to start Gronk in this one. With Evans out, he stands a pretty good shot at scoring multiple touchdowns here. The running back situation is murky. If I had to start one between Ronald Jones and Fournette, I would start Ronald Jones this week. Just with Fournette joining the team late, most likely going to take a few weeks to truly get acclimated to that offense, but I'm not going to try to force either guy out there in this game where I'm expecting it to turn pretty high scoring pretty quickly. Probably not going to be as much running the ball out in this one. Now, Scott Miller is another interesting name to keep in the back of your hat. If you have Hopkins, if you have someone from the Cardinals 49ers game like Kirk that you were planning on playing, and that game does end up getting canceled, this is an afternoon game, and someone that is most likely on your waiver wire. With Evans most likely out, Scott Miller becomes a pretty interesting name that you could potentially throw in as like a panic play in case that 49ers and Cardinals game gets canceled. And then even O.J. Howard could end up being a pretty decent play with Evans out if you need someone to replace Kittle should that Cardinals 49ers game get canceled. Those are a few names I would stash if you have a spot on your bench, either Miller or Howard, if you're concerned about that game potentially getting canceled, which, I mean, at this point, it's definitely a realistic possibility and not many people are talking about it. So make sure you have some of these guys on your bench just in case. You're going to need to, think about that. I'm sure they'll let us know early on, so you don't necessarily have to pivot to a guy in these later afternoon games, but I'm just saying these names out there because they're most likely on your waiver wire, and with Evans out, could be a really nice one-week play. All right, and then the Saints, the Saints are one of the easiest teams to do start-sits on because you're always going to start Brees, Kamara, and Thomas, and I think Jared Cook probably won't be someone that will start every week, but in this matchup particularly, I would definitely throw Cook out there. This could be a 4 or 5 touchdown game for Drew Brees going against the Bucs, who were pretty abysmal against the pass last year. Don't know how much better they'll be this year. Now, likely one of Traquan Smith or Emmanuel Sanders will also have a good game. There's usually at least a decent wide receiver too when Brees is playing hot, but I want to kind of see how that situation bends itself out over time. I think Sanders would probably be the better play if I had to choose between the two of them, but Traquan Smith was getting a lot of love from Brees in camp, and he could end up surprising. So Traquan Smith is another one of those names you could potentially throw on your bench and throw into your flex if you need a late start. Someone that has a lot of upside and is pretty much undrafted in every format. And then there's no way I'm starting Latavius Murray unless Alvin Kamara gets hurt again. But I'm probably trying to avoid both defenses in this game just because I am expecting it to be higher scoring. I'm going to go chalk with this one, and I will take the Saints beating the Bucs 34-27, hitting the over, but having the Saints cover their 4-point spread. I think Drew Brees and the Saints get it done in New Orleans. Tom Brady, with lacking Mike Evans, I think he comes out and gets an L with his first game with his new squad.